day, fellow Jersey nerds, and welcome to episode 88, 89, or 90 of the Jersey Nerds podcast. I'm your host, Ryan. Today on the Nerdcast, we have so much to go over that we're going to break it up into three incredible podcasts that are going to come out over the next little while. So that's why you're either listening to episode 88, 89, or 90. Here's what we're going to cover on these three podcasts. We're recording them all at once, and then we're going to chop it up so that you guys can get the information paced out and don't have to take it in all at once. So we're going to be covering the Carolina Hurricanes' new road sweater, the Edmonton Oilers' leaked third jersey. We got to look at the Buffalo Sabres' complete uniform for their 50th anniversary jersey. So we're going to wrap that up and kind of recap everything there. The Calgary Flames 40th anniversary logo, the Cape Breton Eagles rebrand from the QMJHL, the London Knights logo modification, quote, new jerseys. They're from the OHL. And then we'll shift over to the ECHL to talk about the Atlanta Gladiators, the Brampton Beast, and the Utah Grizzlies. And it wouldn't be a podcast without fellow co-hosts. Joining me this week are Justin, Sean, and Beepo. Justin, what's going on?
Hey, just starting up first week of senior year. So I got my Purdue jersey on, rocking the boys, repping them a little bit, and back podcasting. Definitely out of practice, sounds like. But back podcasting, my goodness, for the first time in a long while.
And we thank you because you're sacrificing your sleep to record this podcast for us. So
the life of an engineer.
Also joining us, Beepo. What's going on?
Well, Ryan, I got two full water bottles. I've got my two laptops in front of me and my microphone in front of me, and I'm looking down at my chest right now at my Carolina Hurricanes home jersey, wondering what could have been. Or to shorten it, just recording a podcast. Ryan, how about you?
Beautiful. Trying to grind out a podcast with 9 different topics, but that's why we're going to break it up, and we're all ready to go. Finally joining us
for this long one.
Finally joining us is Sean. Sean, what's going on?
I just got back from my hometown a couple days ago. I'm currently on the mad scramble for an apartment, need a new home for the jerseys, and chilling out in my 2016 Chicago Blackhawks Stadium Series jersey with the lovely Andrew Shaw in the back.
I believe about a year ago you were also looking for a home. I think Beepo and Steve were trying to hook you up with a Arizona girl. Is that not correct?
That is correct. But I currently am enrolled in school in Nova Scotia for better or for worse. So now that kind of thrown a wrench in. And if you know anything about trying to find an apartment in Halifax, let's say you carry around a couple 50s so you can get your name first on the list.
Anybody in Halifax who wants to put up Sean, contact the Jersey Nerds podcast because he needs a place to stay. Anyways, we got...
All right, sleeping in the back of my car is not an option.
We got a lot to get into, so let's jump right into it. Our lead topic on this episode is the Carolina Hurricanes coming out with their brand new road sweater. This is a white sweater. So we have what seems to be becoming a trend is the kind of trim, just using the trim on the Adidas collar. That's in red, obviously. Inside in the hanger effect are is the warning flag pattern. The shoulder patch is the two hurricane warning flag logo that's seen on their black alternate jersey. It's a broad red stripe on the arms and the hem outlined in black. And then the hem has the sublimated hurricane warning flag pattern on it as well. Same font that they've been using for the numbers and the names for the past 5 years or so. And then the big feature on here is the Canes wordmark going diagonally across the front. It's got the warning flag pattern in the C there as well. We got red pants, red gloves with black trim, and then the sock striping matches the arm striping. So this is certainly something that was expected, a lot of intrigue around it. And now that we've seen it, just what were your initial thoughts, Justin?
I mean, it's just so close yet so far. I mean, the jersey itself is great. I love it, all for it. But you just don't put nicknames on a primary sweater. And like, I honestly, I don't think it works great on alternates. Even like the Sens tried it, the Bolts tried it, the Caps tried it for the Stadium Series. Like, there's so many examples of it going wrong on a specialty jersey or an alternate jersey, that's seeing it on a full-time primary, something you're going to wear in every other team's building. It seems like a misstep to rep some shorthand of who you are rather than who you actually are.
All right, Beepo. Justin kind of nailed it. The diagonal word mark is going to be a bit of a hang up for some people. Your thoughts when you first saw this jersey?
Well, for both the my fellow podcasters and the listeners, I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with Reddit, but there's a subreddit called Yes, 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 No. It's basically what you'd expect it to be. This jersey's basically exactly that. We get the teasers released and the sock stripes look nice, and then eventually, what was it, last night, Dundon released the teaser of the hem, and I'm like, yes, 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 it's gonna be great. And then it's unveiled, and there's the word mark and everything. It's just like, no, well, I'll get into that more later, but I do kind of, yeah, I'm just going to get into everything else later, or else I'm going to go on a huge tangent and talk about everything instead of just the initial thoughts.
Sean, was the word mark your first hang up to this jersey, or just your initial reaction?
Interestingly enough, my first thing was no, this can't be real. And then my biggest hang up with it, honestly, was on it, like just how white it was. That just when the player skated by in the video, I genuinely was like, wait, is that a Red Wings jersey? It's the inverse issue that Tampa's jerseys have.
Well, it's certainly going to be interesting to see what everyone's positives and negatives are, because just judging from reaction I saw on Twitter when these jerseys came out, it was kind of across the board. You're obviously going to find people that don't like the word mark and people that do like the word mark. And as Sean pointed out, maybe it's got a bit of a Red Wings look to it. Some people have pointed out that it has a bit of a 2002 Team Canada look to it, similar striping pattern. But I think the hurricane warning flag pattern really differentiates it from the 2002 Canada jersey. So don't know if you can necessarily say that, but just before we go on with the positives
Ryan,
and negatives.
Ryan, are you sure that the 2002 Canada jerseys did not have the warning flag pattern on it?
I think they had a pattern, right?
They certainly did. They considered using the hurricane warning flag pattern, but after many studies, it was revealed that that's not really a thing in Canada. So
hurricanes in Canada.
We get the remnants of the. Well, I mean, I'm sure Sean he's on the East Coast, so he would say that's not so much of a remnant. But anyways, we do have images of all the jerseys we're going to talk about up on jerseynerdspodcast.com. So head on over there or check out the show notes or the episode description with this podcast, and you'll be able to find the link and all the pictures of everything we're talking about there. So let's start off with the negatives, because I would like to end on the positives with this jersey. I do think overall it's pretty good, so I would like to end up on the positives. Justin, we'll go to you for your negatives on the Hurricanes' new road jersey.
So, funnily enough, Sean complained that it had a lot of white. In my mind, it has a lot of red. And that's not like the fact that, I mean, looking at the front, obviously there's a lot of red, but you could look to the back and the name's in red. The numbers are in red. The pants are red. And so it's a lot of red. I mean, I know Avi Stein put up a kind of prediction concept on Twitter yesterday. I think he's Steinosaur on Twitter. Definitely a good follow. Wonderful designer who I really like. But he had basically this jersey with the normal primary logo on the front, and it was one leagues better, but still my comment on his was that it was just a lot of red, and I think maybe swap the numbers on back to be black with a red outline or something like that, just to give it a little bit of a different color. Maybe it's a black pants thing. I don't know. There's an image out there that shows kind of their three looks, their home, their new road, and their alternate, and it appears as if they're their home is finally going to go with black pants, which is something I've been clamoring for all of last year. And I think something we've discussed on here before is that something that I would really like them to do. So I'd almost be interested to see black pants across the board and see what happens. Obviously, like I said, having the primary logo would be a big step in the right direction for me. But yeah, I think those are my two kind of big negatives. Yep. I would also like to see, I think, and like you said, it mirrors the Red Wings a little bit and mirrors the Team Canada 2002s. I would like to see kind of the striping match the home jersey, because they have on the home, they have the warning flag pattern, but then there's a white stripe on either side and then followed by black. And so I would like to see kind of that white stripe kind of weasel its way in between the red and black and give it a little bit of a different look. And that way you don't get the Red Wing comparison, you don't get the Team Canada comparison, but you get something that is distinctly Carolina Hurricanes across the board. And I think that's something that's really important to do with your primary jerseys, is give something that's not confused or misconstrued as some other team, but it's distinctly you and who you are.
So at that point, you're basically just taking the roads that they had before, removing the yoke, putting on the Canes wordmark, and adding the flag pattern.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly loved their previous roads. Like, I would keep the yoke even. Like, I like the extended yoke. I thought it was unique. Throw that on. Give me the warning flags on the ham. Call it a day. I think one of those things where I know Dundon didn't like them, but, personally I did. And I think it's something that, sometimes change is a good thing. Sometimes it isn't. And I think in this case, there's more bad than good that was done.
I do like the extended yokes, but after seeing it without, I just think it looks really clean and really sharp. So based on comparing the two, I do like where they've gone now without the yoke. I like the idea of the extended yoke, but now that it's gone, I like that they made that move. But Beepo, totally just your negatives. Perfect. So Beepo, you better agree, or else we're going to kick you out of the podcast.
All right. Well, I do agree. I like the word mark, but it definitely does not have a place on a primary jersey, I don't think. I think it would look fine on an alternate. And even so, I would love if they took it a step extra for an alternate jersey and went with jerks. I saw some people mock that up on Twitter. I thought that was pretty funny. I don't have it right on me, so I can't credit it, unfortunately. But if I find it, I'll send it to Ryan to credit it.
It's some TSN Sports Center type thing. Jay and Dan are a big dual personality thing, and they had something about it. I don't know if they were the original source, but they did post something about that with that mock-up.
Okay, yeah. If I find one of the ones that I saw earlier, I can send it to Ryan. He can stick it in the show notes. But I would love to see them do that for an alternate. But yeah, a nickname word mark definitely belongs on an alternate. I understand the reasoning for why they went with it. It had something to do with paying homage to the fans and bringing them on the road because everybody calls them Canes. But it's just weird. And it's also strange having 3 different logos on each of their 3 jerseys. I'm kind of torn on some things because I can admire them taking a step in a new direction, but at the same time, this is not that brand unity that you'd want from a primary home and road. I'm really in between the progressiveness and the traditionalness on this kind of debate right now. I haven't figured out which side I'm on. But I'm also going to agree, separate the red and black stripes a little bit to provide some nice contrast. And also, with the word mark being a block font, the back name and number stand out a little bit from that, and there's just a consistency issue there. I think it would all look better in the block font.
There's a photo that shows it with the Captain C on it, and it's in the weird italicized curvy font too. So seeing that rounded C with the block C is really odd.
Was that an official picture or somebody else's mock-up?
It was official. I don't remember what it was and who it was specifically. And that being said, could you imagine if pop the C from the Canes logo and put the normal primary and use that as a captain's patch? How
I had a conversation about that on Twitter with Christopher Jordan, who as far as I'm aware, he's a listener of the podcast. That's exactly what I was thinking. I tweeted out a mock-up that somebody posted on Reddit of the jersey with the regular logo, and he responded, "Imagine this with that Hurricane flag C as the captain's patch." I'm like, exactly what I was thinking. That would look gorgeous.
So good.
All right, Sean, a lot to follow there, but I don't know if you have any different negatives for this jersey.
Oh yeah, I forgot he was here.
All right, so different negatives to what the other guy said. I think I can come up with, I already mentioned that I'm not a big fan of the white. I think, the problem that I have with this with regards to the arm striping is it doesn't match. There's a big disconnect with it from the home, and you're kind of going full Minnesota Wild here, or maybe the Ottawa Senators, where you're just saying, screw it, we'll have non-matching jerseys. The problem that I have with this, unlike the other two, where, you had 3 pretty distinct jerseys, they're so similar, and yet there's no attempt here to make just to bridge the gap, And I think that if they did what they did with the arm striping and added those red cuffs, you'd have something that looked, I think, really, really good here. I also don't think that an extended yoke would have hurt here, but I get what they're trying to go for. And if they are going to go with this super white look, white gloves are necessary.
It'd be interesting. The white gloves we'll get to that when we get to the Buffalo Sabres uniforms, but you have to wonder if that's becoming a fad and something that's more acceptable. And if it really would have worked with this jersey, but we're getting red gloves, which I'm a fan of. Justin mentioned before that it looks like because the home uniform and the alternate uniform would use black pants, that maybe we'll see that moved into the road uniform as well. And personally, I'd like to see it go the other way, where everything uses red pants. That wouldn't necessarily go great with the alternate uniform. I think that would need to be all black, but I wouldn't mind to see everything go red pants, or at least to see what it looks like there. That would be my opinion. But let's move now to the positives of the jersey, because as I said, I think overall this is a good jersey, and really the only thing that's holding it back from being excellent is the fact that they used a diagonal word mark. It is their own word mark. They are owning it. They're not shying away from it. They knew exactly what they were doing. So I do appreciate that, but I still would have liked to have seen that primary logo somewhere. It is on the helmet as a 3D decal. I love the 3D decals. That is so fantastic. It looked great on the Buffalo Sabres. Decal? Am I saying it differently from...
Yeah, we've gone over this before on previous podcasts. Until he said decal, I completely forgot he did that.
Yikes.
Sean, how do you say it? Decal or decal?
What are you putting it on?
A helmet?
No, it's the sticker on the helmet.
Well, okay, because if you
the difference?
If you put it on a car, it's a decal. If you're using it as like a British synonym for sticker, then it's decal. But it's
what?
Yeah.
What?
Why would that matter?
Because context, like it's called the car.
It's a sticker on a car, a sticker on a helmet,
it's
man.
It's a car because I don't know, but there is a difference. Like it's a decal.
It's a decal. It's a decal if you put it on a skate deck.
It's a decal if you're British.
Well, none of us are British, so it's a decal.
Yeah, so it's a decal.
All right.
Is Ryan like 21 Savage, and we're gonna find out he's British in a couple years?
He's been watching soccer.
I called it a decal.
Okay,
exactly.
Tomato. It's not like he pronounced aluminium weird.
Fair enough.
Or vitamins.
Exactly. He's just.
I hate you all.
Your schedule.
I know exactly what we need for this. No, that's not it.
Okay.
Here we go.
There it is.
All right, this is a quick fake or authentic for all the Jersey Nerd podcast listeners. I want to know, is it decal or decal? Let us know. JerseyNerdsPodcast@gmail.com. Anyways, let's get to the positives on the Carolina Hurricanes road uniform. Justin, you lead us off.
I will say the helmet decal is definitely a positive. It's something that I think I've talked about in our private chat a while back, actually, because Penn State started doing it with their helmets in college, and it's something that's been coming up in football, and a lot of people are doing it on their like nose bumpers and rear bumpers, and then it's been a big thing in professional baseball as well. So I kind of always thought it was only a matter of time, and honestly, I think now that it's in, it's going to spread across the whole NHL pretty quickly. It's just one of those new kind of, I guess, technologies. I don't even know that kind of people are using and people are trying out. And so I think since it's made there, it's nice to finally see it happening. And I feel kind of involved, even though I'm not involved at all, just because I saw it coming, and that kind of makes me feel good and in tune with the kids nowadays. I hate the fact
you're so trendy, Justin.
Oh, of course. Look at me. I hate the fact that the word mark is on the jersey, but I love the word mark. Like, they came out with it last year and it looks great, and they've used it on apparel. They put it on the helmets. It was great, and that's where it needed to stay. And seeing it on the jersey makes me less than happy. But it is great. I mean, and I will say this is not a bad jersey. This is a phenomenal jersey. Like, it's really well done, really well put together. The problem is it's not a good primary jersey. If this is an alternate, like, honestly, like 9.5 out of 10. It's beautiful. It gives something that the fans can connect to, something that's definitely their own, and something that's kind of trendy. A little short name kind of makes the kids happy, you know. I think Beepo was on the right track when he said sub out with Jerks, and you've got something even better. And frankly, I think there's not a hockey fan outside of Don Cherry that wouldn't want to own that jersey. And so, like, it's beautifully done. It's just the context is off. Like, sub this out for the black jersey and come up with another white jersey, throw your primary on it, make it match the home a little better by adding in the pops of white like we were talking about, and I'm sold. But just know your context when you're designing a jersey, and that's something that goes for NHL teams, for amateur designers across the board. Know what you're designing for, and really just keep that in mind, not only when you're starting, but all the way through the process as well.
Yeah, I would have to agree on that one. I would have thought this would be an excellent alternate. Beepo, your positives and whether or not you think this would look great as an alternate.
Yeah, Justin makes a ton of good points. I think this would be an absolutely gorgeous alternate, even if you had a black version of it. And, you know, I don't usually like black jerseys. The Canes word mark, it just fits so much better in an alternate because it's such a good word mark, and it looks great on the chest of a jersey, just not this jersey. And while I agree that it could probably use some more black, or some black could help it, I honestly still love the way that it looks with all of this red. As you know, I like a lot of color, and I like how much red there is on the primary home jersey with the red pants. And while, again, I don't think black pants would look bad there, I love it with red pants. And I think it carries over perfectly here to have black as that really tertiary accent color and just let red and white stand out and do all of the talking. I don't know if that makes sense in this context, but you get my point. The striping looks fine. The striping looks great. It does, despite the fact that the thicknesses are off and whatnot, it does still kind of match the home jersey to some degree. So there is a link there for sure, even if it's not exact and it's not brutally obvious in your face. It's there. It's nice to see that hurricane flag pattern come back, because otherwise this jersey would have been a lot more plain. And to disagree with Sean, I love how white this jersey is too. It just looks so clean without the yolks. And again, I don't think the yolks would make it look bad, but it's just so clean without it. There's a lot to like about this jersey, even though there's also a lot to dislike. It's mainly just context, like we've gone over before.
And Sean, wrap it all up with a pretty red bow. Your positives.
I see what you did there, Ryan. A red bow?
Yeah.
With just
red
very
bow.
subtle black accents.
They're owning it.
And a warning flag pattern
Of course. That's all red bows have.
They're genuinely owning this. Like, it's I am fully impressed with the confidence at which the Hurricanes are wheeling this jersey out. Like, I'm sorry, but the number of teams that would have failed this massively. Like this could have been the Sens alternate of the Carolina Hurricanes uniform lexicon. Like, an absolute joke. And they wheel this out, and people looking and go, "Are you serious?" And they look you dead in the eye and they go, "Yes." And we're taking it seriously. It's not. I'm not even. This isn't a backhanded comment. I'm genuinely shocked that we could sit here and we could say the Carolina Hurricanes have a diagonal word script jersey with a shortened name, and we're complimenting it. No one could have pulled this off. Or no one would have even thought that if any team could have pulled it off, it'd be Carolina of all teams. And yet here we are.
I don't know, though. I kind of think it makes sense to be Carolina because they've been kind of one of the more progressive teams. And they're a newer team, so it's not like they have a ton of history holding them back.
Sure, but, I mean, you know, the only team outside of the Rangers to pull this off consistently is Colorado.
Tampa Bay.
Barely.
Oh.
Pittsburgh.
They'll be like, again, and it took years for people to like the Bolts jersey, but you have people day one coming out and saying, like, the thing that I'm picturing right now is if I was in Toronto, these are going to be what Leafs fans are going to be seeing out there, and people are going to be excited to see them. And I think
honestly,
that's going to be a great looking.
That's the positive about this, above anything at all, is that, you know, Carolina is genuinely proving that their brand is not a one-hit wonder, and that this is what they're going to be doing. They're going to be exciting now, and it's honestly refreshing.
They're kind of doubling down on being weird and being the outcasts of the NHL and the jerks and being whatever. And I think, like Sean was saying, like, this is going to be a hit, and it's kind of like, already I'm kind of seeing it maybe being like the All-Star Game jerseys from this year that I know we talked about and trashed, and retailers didn't order them. And then already there's people clamoring for them and people searching like everywhere for them because they liked them. And like all the experts and everyone who really does jersey design stuff was like, these are hot garbage. I can't speak. Hot garbage. But the fans just picked them up. And I think this is something that, sure, it's simpler than we'd like, but it's also really distinct and it's really Carolina, like Sean was saying. And I think it's gonna fly.
I mean, there's a direct quote from, I believe, okay, no, it just says from the team, but we feel that now we have the most diverse uniform set in the NHL with 3 uniforms that utilize 3 different brand assets as crest logos, not to mention the 4th one when you factor in the Whalers set. The back half of that quote was just in my words, but it's true, and it's impressive how they do all link together, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not a direct match.
If the NHL did a 4 jersey system, and there was one that was made to match to their home better, like I would be honestly like 95+% satisfied across the board on all of the jerseys individually. Like they're all great. It's just context.
I'm not. I mean, whatever. That's another debate whether or not a 4 jersey system or the current 3 jersey system or whatever. And even another debate is whether or not home and road should match. I think that's obviously still going to be personal preference. And I do like a home and road to match. And that's why I would prefer the primary logo on this road jersey. But I think from here we can move into our ratings because I reluctantly give this an 8 out of 10. And because I don't usually care for wordmark jerseys, but it's their identity. I mean, they haven't done it wrong. They've done it well, and I just don't want to like it, but they've done it well. So I have to give them an 8. I want to give it a lower rating, but it's really clean and the colors look great. And I'm not a fan of the wordmark, but they've done it well. So it's an 8 out of 10, a reluctant 8 out of 10 for me. I don't know where you sit on that, Justin.
In a vacuum, I'm right there with you. I'd even go 9 out of 10, to be honest. But taking into account context and the fact that you could make a couple changes, throw a little white in between, throw the primary on the chest, and really drive home the kind of consensus and a consistent brand, like I think 6 out of 10, because it's so close and there's a couple things and it's almost like you put this much work into it, just take it the step farther and design a look that doesn't not quite so fun and freewheeling, a look that is professional and that really drives home, like, sure, we're the weird team in the NHL, but we're still an NHL team and we still mean business.
Beepo, we have an 8, we have a 6. Where are you landing with this Hurricanes road jersey?
Before we started talking about it, I was going to give it a 7, but I've kind of talked myself, or we've all talked me into bumping that up to an 8. I'm going to try my best to embrace the kind of weirdness and progressiveness of this jersey set, the way that the Hurricanes themselves had. I'm not 100% sold yet, but I'm trying to get myself there. And right now I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay, Sean, 2 8s and a 6. Are you going to make this easy on me and give it a 6, or do you have something else in mind?
I am going to make it difficult on you because I'm going to give it a 7. And I have to give the jersey itself a 6 and an extra point for, if you told me a decade ago that this was going to happen, if you told me when Carolina did their first, just consider Carolina's first rebrand of their jerseys in their history, and how massively that flopped.
I honestly forgot about those.
Exactly.
Those were so bad. Oh my gosh. Talk about complete lack of identity of any. It's basically like if you took Minnesota's management team and put it in jersey form, it's the original Carolina Edge jerseys right there.
But wait, hold on. Did they call the jerseys a lizard?
Oh, not to the public, but you can't know what happens behind closed doors.
And besides, this is the second Carolina jersey that's been compared to a Team Canada jersey in their history. And yet we're not here calling them boring. We're not here saying the team's relocating to Quebec in 2 years. We're not here, bashing them and laughing at them and making fun of their mascot. We're complimenting them. And that in itself gives them a 7.
Okay, so we have 2 8s, a 7, and a 6. Adding that all together, putting it into the computer machine and getting an average, you get an average of 7.25 for the new 2019-2020 Carolina Hurricanes road jersey, which is pretty surprising for a wordmark jersey. But you can let us know anytime what you think about these jerseys. You can get us on Twitter at Jersey Nerds Pod. Let us know your thoughts of any jersey release there anytime, or you can email us with your thoughts, jerseynerdspodcast@gmail.com. Any good feedback that comes in, we're happy to read on the podcast. But speaking of the Hurricanes, in 2006, they won their only Stanley Cup, and they defeated in 7 games the Edmonton Oilers, and they're the subject of our next topic, and that is the Edmonton Oilers jersey that leaked. So we have a navy blue jersey with just an orange logo. The white has been completely removed. The word mark is in orange. The circle's in orange. The oil drop is in orange. There's no white to speak of. And then we have 2, I guess you could say, thinner stripes right about at the elbow. They're orange with an orange stripe at the bottom of the jersey. The numbers are orange. The name on the back of the jersey is orange. We don't have a shoulder patch here. We have your traditional, I guess you'd call it traditional now, Adidas collar, which is kind of the half collar with the trim out the front. But it's going to be interesting to hear your guys' thoughts here. Beepo, we'll start with you and just your initial thoughts when this one leaked.
In a vacuum, I think they're okay jerseys, but considering that we don't live in a vacuum, I didn't know the Oilers were in a Stadium Series game this year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really just what it looks like. It's, again, the theme of the Stadium Series jerseys, I don't know if it's been intentional, but it just seems like, the Flyers in 2017, Caps in 18, Pens in 19. It's just like a simple stripe across the arm and one across the hem, and that's about it. And then maybe like one extra feature. In this one difference or extra feature is thin arm stripes and 2 of them. And yeah. But I'll get more into the positive and negative later, as I'm supposed to.
Sean, you saw the leak, and what were you thinking?
I was thinking, man, my hopes for a second WHA throwback are thrown out the window yet again. That's all I want from this team. I just want their original WHA set and then a blue jersey with the WHA orange logo, and I can't have that. I get this.
Justin, what'd you think when you saw this?
Just no. Just no. Don't want it. Take it back. Honestly, it was very much like I remember back when Adidas was first coming out. Perhaps the first leaked jersey was Edmonton, and it was their orange one, and it was with a different collar. It was with the big white pilgrim collar, and I remember seeing it. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, "There's no way. It's got to be some weird Asian fake that somehow got knowledge before us." And honestly, I don't know if that was my first thought when I saw this or my first hope, but I was so ready for it to not be what it was and so willing to convince myself that it would be. And yet here we are, and we have this, and we will get this for the next year, and we will come to terms with that one way or another.
We'll have to choke it down. But when I saw it, it was, I was trying to force myself to get on board. Like, oh, okay, this is a navy, like they're going with a 2-color jersey here. And it just so quickly aged so poorly. I'm talking in a matter of 10 minutes.
It's not even released yet, and it's already old and gross and out of date.
Yeah, and we don't want it. We haven't even officially gotten it, and we don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
We're already...
There's one thing in my eyes that could save this set, but I'm going to get into that later, and I'm just going to leave you with a teaser right now. So,
ooh,
for those
good
of you who are in the podcast, you may be aware of what this is because of our private chats. But for the actually, I may have also tweeted it for all that I know. But for the listeners, here's a little teaser.
Well, I feel like I want white trim, but then also it just becomes a whatever jersey. Like I want white trim, I guess, but in an interesting way, and I don't have the answer for that. So I don't know if I can fairly ask for that. But well, you know what, people, let's get to you. I don't know if you want to include your changes in the negative section, but we'll start off with the negatives for this jersey.
For some reason, this is a really tough one to just kind of put into words because there's just not much to this jersey. And I guess that's a negative in itself, that there's not much to it. I was about to say a couple things that I like, but I'll save that. There's not much to talk about because there's not much to it. And the collar, again, the collar's not great. I don't think any of us have ever really liked the half collars. There just needs to be thicker striping, or one of Justin's mock-ups with like the upper arm fill, just something. There needs to be something more to it. Everything else I have is a positive, which is kind of weird, but I guess there's more nitpicking positives to talk about than negatives, just because, again, there's nothing to it. There's nothing substantial to this thing. It's just a rehash over and over again of the same general design.
I would agree. I mean, it's like, I feel like I'm out of ideas for the Oilers, which maybe means they should just stick with what they had last year, the 3 jerseys that they had last year. Maybe there's no need to move from that. I feel like I'm out of ideas for the Oilers, and maybe this is them being out of ideas and just looking at Philadelphia, seeing what worked with their orange. And I don't know, maybe they're trying to do something similar, because it's really similar, really, really similar to Philadelphia, especially when those are the 2 of the 3 teams or whatever that are using orange. You're going to naturally draw comparisons. And I mean, we'll go to Sean for his negatives. I don't know if you're in the same boat as us, Sean, but your negatives for this Oilers jersey.
You know, I am largely in the same boat. I think that I kind of want to emphasize the collar more, because what the team seems to be going for here is something that I want to like in theory. And I liked, for example, on this year's Penguins jersey, is sort of that non-white, the 2-color. It has a lot of potential for a lot of teams, and the Edmonton especially, since they've darkened the colors, which I'm a big fan of. And you want, in my opinion, when you're making a jersey like this, you need big blocks of your lighter color to contrast your darker jersey. And without a shoulder patch, you're really relying on the collar here to deliver that. You know, and we're just not getting it. We're getting that half collar, which in theory you think would be fine. I would have rather seen an entirely orange collar. You know, on top of that, again, as I mentioned, the lack of a shoulder patch. They didn't put the numbers up on the shoulders, which is always a possibility to add color there. Then you go from there and, you know, you add something to the arm, maybe an oil drop like pattern in there. I don't know. Something along those lines. But they do just enough for me not to think that the jersey is particularly plain, probably because the Oilers' crest in and of itself is built into it. I just think, you know, one thing when I look at a jersey design is, how is this going to look without a name on it when it's in the store? Because the majority of jerseys that they sell will not have a name on it. How is it going to look? And the answer is pretty terrible.
Yeah, I would agree. It's going to look boring. It's going to look boring, like paint drying boring. Justin, your negatives for this?
Yeah, so Bepo said he's going to have a lot of nitpicky positives, so I guess I'll balance them out with a lot of nitpicky negatives. But something he said earlier, and he alluded to some work I've done, just kind of trying to do quick fixes. That's something I've really gotten into, is trying to keep kind of the identity of these releases together, not changing too much, but saying, you know what, if the team thought about it for 30 more seconds, what can you do to change it? And I think going with a kind of trendy Pittsburgh Vegas upper arm fill and just taking that above that second orange stripe and just making it orange on the upper part of the sleeves really adds that pop of color, and it would make it look less garbage without a name or number on the back, and give it a little bit more something. I think that's a big step that they could have taken that they didn't. And then Beepo talked about making the joke of didn't realize Edmonton was in the Stadium Series this year. I don't think they realized they weren't. In some of the release photos, it looks like they might be using Stadium Series size numbers on the arms. It's hard to tell for certain without an official release yet, but that's something I'm really afraid of. There's one with a fully dressed McDavid jersey out there, and it looks bigger than normal. Again, it's hard to say for certain, but Stadium size series shoulder numbers on a real jersey are horrible, terrifying. Please take them away. I don't want it. I don't get the striping. Like it's nothing that's inspired by anything the Oilers have had before. Like they've always had 3 stripes. Having 2 is weird. Maybe you can count the cuff stripe as a 3rd stripe, but honestly, if you're going to do a cuff stripe that's small, why are you doing it? It's going to be swallowed in the gloves. Sure, it'll look nice on the fans, maybe. But honestly, add that 3rd stripe to the arms, and honestly, it kind of works because you have the inverted lace collar that has 3 stripes already. So plug into the full 3-stripe life that Adidas has going for you, add another one there, and you got a little bit something. I'd honestly switch the colors on the logo and swap blue for orange across the board. I mocked that up per a suggestion from someone on one of the forums I was working on. And honestly, it was much better than I expected it to look, and it's really solid. And I can send that, and we can get that posted up on the website if we want to. But I did it just because someone said, try this out, see what it looks like, and I kind of begrudgingly was like, okay, whatever. And it honestly looks great, and it provides kind of that more pop of orange that Jets was clamoring for, and that we would really like to see here, because it's just there's nothing to it. There's not much to talk about because they're not there, kind of like Beeple was saying.
Yeah, it's a weak offering from Edmonton here. I'm finding it hard to come up with positives. I mean, it's not a dumpster fire of a jersey, but it's hard to like, and I'm not finding anything that I really like about it. The navy blue and orange work well together, but how is that a positive when that's just their color scheme? Like, it's almost like that's what they had to work with. It's not like anybody would have accepted a green and red Oilers jersey. Navy blue and orange is kind of what they had to work with. So I find it hard to say that's a positive. I guess that the fact that it's not a dumpster fire makes it a positive, but that's pretty sad. As I'm sitting here and analyzing it and trying to think of it, I don't have any real positives for this jersey, which is unfortunate, but I'm just not there. Beepo.
Thinking about it, I think most of my nitpicky positives here kind of have a lot to do with the fact that the colors work well together. But nonetheless, these nitpicky positives, while I'm going to list a good few of them, do not outweigh the negatives by any means, so please do not take it as me saying that. But I do really like the way that the navy blue works with the orange. I think the orange pops well, and it is nice to have a bit of a change of pace from the orange home jersey. While I love that jersey, I always like the alternates in a separate color, in their like a tertiary color, just for a change of pace. I don't love the way the inverted logo looks, but I am perfectly okay with it for an alternate. I like that they're taking a step in a new direction with that. And I guess you could say they're taking a step in a new direction for their own branding by going with the 2-color jersey. And I think it works out really well with these colors. I think the name and number look pretty good. And I don't even hate if the numbers are oversized, because with how plain the rest of the jersey is, that actually might help it. And the one positive that I'm going to assume is going to be a negative, but just since we don't have any information on it yet, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and stick it into positive. Orange gear. Orange pants and gloves, blue helmet. That would look gorgeous. It's what the Penguin Stadiums, maybe not gloves, but at least orange pants.
You know what?
That's what it would need to just...
I'd wait to see it. It could work, but it would be bold.
I did...
And props for going for it, but... Oof.
Around the time of the Stadium Series, the 2019 one, I mocked up a little idea for the Penguins to wear, based on the logo that was at the time released, and some of the rumors of, I don't even know if they were rumors at that point or confirmed that it was a 2-color, just black and gold and no white. And I did a concept with yellow pants and a black jersey, and I loved it. It looked great, and I think this could work perfectly with orange pants. It would provide that great contrast to not have it completely navy blue, and it's an alternate. It's not full time. I think it would work perfectly. Maybe not orange gloves. I don't know why I said orange gloves, but orange pants I think would fit this uniform perfectly.
It's funny.
I'd prefer orange gloves. Go ahead, Justin.
And navy pants, though. I saw. Speaking of Stadium Series, I don't remember who it was on Twitter, but someone brought up the fact that, like we were saying, these look like they came out of the 2019 Stadium Series. Someone we all remember and will never, ever, ever forget the beautiful helmets, and I say that in the most facetious way possible, that accompanied the 2019 Stadium Series. And someone said, what if Edmonton does that? And we got a big old Oilers logo on one side and then the number on the other. And I didn't think I could not like these anymore. No. So I guess that's a positive, is that, God willing, they won't adopt that part of the Stadium Series. And so, yeah, good for you, Edmonton, for not, shitting the bed and then, eating the shit out of the bed, too. So that's something.
Part of me wonders if an oil drop on the side could work, and that's it, a big oil drop. Probably not. But part of the thing that I think messed up the Penguins and the Flyers doing that so badly is because they were very complex logos, and it was the entire logo. But taking one very simple element out of the logo, I wonder if it could work. I still would probably prefer without it, but just some food for thought.
All right, let's go to Sean. And we seem to just want to fix this jersey or change it. There's nothing that's really truly a positive about it. But Sean, maybe you have something.
I like the idea behind it, and it really, to me, proves that the team is trying to move on from that identity they had in the Edge era, which was in itself their identity from 1979 to 1995. And, there's a lot of people who love that identity. I'm not one of them. I have no attachment to it. And unlike people who are old enough to remember when the team could win a Stanley Cup, I just remember it meaning a lot of first-round draft picks and a lot of terrible decisions. So the team is trying to distance itself from that, and that's a good thing. They have a unique color scheme. They have one of the most recognizable logos in hockey, and they're trying to use it in a different way, and I think that needs to be appreciated. Because unlike their other Albertan team, they seem to be on the track of not constantly falling back on a throwback that they're never going to seem to bring back full-time, because people like me are going to associate it too much with, the joke of a team that they were in the past decade. On top of that, I appreciate the fact that they're using orange a lot more, that they have a nice shade of orange, and they need to use that more if they're going to, make this identity theirs. Otherwise, if they can't come up with something strong enough, they're just going to go back to what they had before. So, a couple eggs are going to need to be broken here for it to work. And as is, I think they're on the right track, albeit this is not the jersey that's going to sell fans on this identity working.
Justin, you had, you had a lot to say already during BPO's positives. I don't know if you have any positives left, because I wouldn't, but if you have them, go ahead.
It's funny because Sean mentioned how they're kind of disassociating themselves from the previous brand, and honestly, I think they're staying on it perfectly, and that's, trying to handicap their players as much as possible. They cultivated a lot of first-round picks and then decided, we don't want good players. We want to trade them for Ryan Strome and Ryan Spooner and anyone with the name Ryan with the last name that starts with S, whether they're good at hockey or not. And then, we got this McDavid guy. He's great. Let's give him Alon Lucic as a line mate, because he's a good hockey player, right? No, not quite. But, McDavid is good enough where it's fine. And, there's that saying, look good, feel good, play good. And look bad, feel good. It's McDavid, so still play good, but maybe play a little less good. And that way the Oilers can keep kind of tradition of mediocrity and can keep that kind of identity they've established. And I think, I mean, so yeah, that's my joke positive, I guess. But in terms of real positives, I love a two-color look. I think it's been a great part of NFL's color rush. It's something that I've considered doing a series on, is a kind of whitelist NHL, or not necessarily whitelist, but a two-color NHL. And so really simplifying color schemes, definitely not like my ideal thing and anything I would want the NHL to do, but I think it's an interesting concept. So I think there's nothing wrong with the two-color look. There's something wrong with this two-color look, and there's a lot of something's wrong with this two-color look, to be frank. When I heard that they were going two-color look, I was on board. I was all over it. You know what? It's like everyone's been saying, beautiful combination of a dark navy and a light orange, and just so many things that could have been done well and just that weren't even attempted because they went about it as simple as possible. And it is so many levels from good.
I'm on the side that I'd love to see you take on a two-color NHL. Like, just take two colors from every team, and boom.
You heard it here, folks.
Although,
ship it.
Now I'm really intrigued on what you're going to do with teams that already only have one color.
Yeah, well, stay tuned, folks.
I guess we'll figure that out.
100%. I don't think I'm working on. I just finished up my Color Rush series. I don't really have any series I'm working on now, so maybe that's the next one to jump on. We'll see. So stay tuned, JNP listeners.
Justin, give out your Twitter handle just so people can pick up on your work.
Actually, this is something I've been trying to, I haven't been promoting myself a ton because I really don't like my current Twitter and Instagram handles because they're different. Because JBD and anything with JB Designs has been taken already. So right now the current Twitter handle is jbroly_design. I've been doing a lot of stuff lately. I'm really promoting Bpost template. It's actually been a good couple of weeks for me. I got my first tweet over 100 likes, and then my first tweet over 200 likes, within a couple days of each other. It broke 300 followers, which isn't a lot at all, but I'm a college student who does graphic design for funsies, and just because I like it. So it's been really nice to have that kind of pushback and that kind of support from people. So definitely check it out. Bpo's new template is glorious. It's so nice. It's so easy to use, and it looks so good. And it's simple, and I've gotten a lot of credit for things looking good because of it. And it's weird because I've posted the same stuff on 2D templates and gotten nothing. And then you pop that on there and people are like, oh my gosh, why doesn't this exist? So honestly, as much as I like to promote myself, definitely give Bpo a follow as well. He does great work, and definitely has been kind of like a pseudo mentor for me. So it's been great to kind of have that experience through the site and through the podcast and everything, and be able to bounce ideas off each other and go from there.
Wow, I'm flattered, Justin.
Yeah, you bet.
I appreciate the shout out, but I know this is something that we did talk about back when we were still hockey jersey concepts.
Yeah.
That the presentation really makes a difference.
It does.
Bpo, give out your Twitter handle so people can follow.
It is at BPC Design, and I am the same handle on Instagram as well. I mainly post my design work on Instagram. I try to post it on Twitter as well, and I've been good at that lately, but I mostly post on Instagram, but I also post 3 posts on Instagram for every project I make because I like to keep my profile looking nice and laid out. So whether that's a positive or a negative for you, you decide.
All right, well, we've got our positives and negatives out of the way. It's now time to rate this thing. And unfortunately, I have to give it a 5 out of 10. I couldn't decide whether or not that's too high or too low. So maybe 5 seems appropriate because it's doing that balancing act where I don't know if it's too high or too low. So 5 shows my displeasure with this. It's not a complete garbage job, but I think 5's appropriate. Bpo, what are you giving this?
I give the idea behind it a 9, but the execution of the idea, which is my overall rating, a 5. I kind of got to agree with you. It's not flawless, or it's very flawed, but it's not an absolute dumpster fire that is unredeemable and looks like trash. Tampa's alternates.
Sean, where do you sit on this out of 10 scale?
Speaking of Tampa's alternate, this jersey and it shares something in common in that it's an idea I thought in my head would look a lot better than it actually does. And this is one of those cases, I looked at Tampa's alternate in theory. It's like, oh yeah, black alternate with silver, just black and silver. Oh, Tampa can make that work easily. They messed that up. Now we got Edmonton doing the exact same thing, albeit to a much lesser scale.
I will also give it a 5 out of 10, but a 5 with a lot of upside. And if, in fact, these leaks are, as some like to, ponder, that these leaks are, in fact, teams putting out prototype versions, gauging the responses, and going back and fixing things, hopefully this is that case, because we have no word on an official release yet. So hopefully my conspiratorial side is right on this one.
And Justin, finish us off with your rating.
We've given this one enough airtime already. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about my work, people's work. Let's talk about Buffalo. I don't care. I'll make it easy. 5 out of 10. 5s across the board. On to the next one.
All right. 5 is the average score for this Oilers leak, and we'll see what the full uniform looks like going forward whenever that comes out. I guess the Oilers are just going to try and ride it out and pretend like the leak never happened, whereas some teams steer into the skid and just go ahead and do the full release. So we'll see what's going on there. Speaking of teams who did an excellent release, Carolina did, and we talked about them earlier, but Buffalo started it off this year. Buffalo fully released their jersey, even though it leaked, and I find they're a team that steered into the skid, or at least they were so confident in their jersey that they said, yeah, it leaked, and we're fine with that, and we're still going to give you an awesome webpage that shows you all the great details, large, high-res photos that show off the details. You worked hard on them, so show them off, and that's exactly what they did. We kind of did our positives and negatives when the leak came out, so we don't need to go over that again. Let's just wrap it up with a final thought, and then we'll come back for a final rating out of 10. So, Sean, you start us off on the Buffalo Sabres 50th anniversary jerseys.
All right, so I'm sure that this is going to be mentioned a lot. The biggest, nicest thing about this jersey was the fur pattern that's meant to look how real Buffaloes look, where they got big, massive tufts of fur on the front of them. And man, did they nail it on this. I hope that this is going to be part of their eventual transition jerseys, where we're similar to Vegas, how we're going to have a nice detailed home and road crest on it. I don't put it past Buffalo not to do this, but, here we are.
This right here is a trend that I can really get on board with, this detailing and logos.
Yeah, I don't think Buffalo's going to be the team that's going to be the one to continue this trend that Vegas started, but let's hope. You know what? Solid jersey here. Not, in love with it or anything. I don't particularly feel the need to run it and get it, but you know what? I like it. Sabres fans like it. Fans of gold like it. It's going to get a 7 out of 10 from me.
7 out of 10 from Sean. Wow. Okay. So I honestly thought that would be higher, but 7 out of 10 is Sean's score. Let's go to Justin for your thoughts, your wrap up thoughts on the whole uniform and your rating.
I want it, and I want it now, and I want it yesterday, and I want it the day before. It's so good. I love the striping. I know there was a lot of talk early on about how maybe you don't have the white and the gold touch, but it's so pretty, and it kind of calls back to their Winter Classic look a bit, with the two thin stripings kind of making three between the gold and the white and the gold. And it's so unique. It's so new. The stitching is beautiful. Like, I want to get an authentic Blackhawks jersey, even though I don't care for the Hawks, because I want the chain stitching. And this is the same way. It's so pretty and it's so well done. And like Beeple and Sean were saying, maybe this is the way of the future. And I think in the 90s, we saw sublimation for the sake of sublimation's sake. And at this point, I think we're going to see fancy stitching for the sake of fancy stitching's sake. But if this is what it's doing, I'm all for it. And I mean, even the striping here, they have like what appears to be like gold flakes of some kind in there. And it's so pretty. It's so well done. And like you said, a masterclass in how to release a jersey. And honestly, that is how you do it. And that is how you get people excited. And I think if you just have this be a flat picture or some player skating out in one film shot, you don't see all these beautiful details that we're really getting honed into. So if you're going to put in this much effort into the design, put this much effort into your release. Like, this is how you do it across the board. So just round of applause for everyone involved at any point in the creation of this and the reveal of this. even in the leak, because it leaked. And then, like you said, they said, you know what, it leaked, so we're going to own it. And this is us. And we're going to make the release so much better than the leak, so people aren't even going to remember. So I think, honestly, 10 out of 10, just when you factor in the jersey itself, how they handled it, even with it leaking before they got to it. It's just well done. Just endless rounds of applause for Buffalo.
And speaking of things that seem to be becoming trends, at least if we look at Buffalo and Carolina, these beautiful reveals with the very high-res photos and detail photos, another one I can really get on board with.
Yep, Buffalo and Carolina both did excellent jobs. Buffalo a little better because the photos were substantially bigger, but still Carolina, like doing a full web page and giving us all those detailed photos is so good, and we crave so much of it. There's too many times where a team will release a jersey and it's just a photo of the player up on stage of a thrown together press conference, and then that's it. And that's all you get. And you don't get any information or detailed photos or anything else. You just have this one photo of the player standing up on stage. And enough of that. Let's do what Carolina and Buffalo have done. We don't need a press conference. And even with those awesome websites, you may not even need a video, but it still just adds that extra element and really pushes over the top. So much so that Justin just gave them a 10 for everything because it's been so well done. Beepo, where do you land on your rating for the Sabres 50th anniversary jersey and your final thoughts on it?
This thing is definitely a beauty. We talked before about whenever it leaked about how the metallic gold striping was going to look really good, and it definitely holds up to that. I don't need to really go that much into depth on the logo again. We've gone into that enough. That is absolutely gorgeous. The white gloves are, I don't know how I feel about them. They're growing on me for sure. Whenever I first saw them, I was like, come on, Sabres. But the more I look at this, the more they're growing on me, and I think they kind of work. And some of the other things that we didn't necessarily see in the leak are the font. And we did see that they were blue numbers, but we just saw basic block 0. But now that we see, the 19 and we actually see, or the C patch, and the name on the back, and the 50, that slab serif for the letters is gorgeous, and it fits perfectly. The gold trim looks incredible, and it doesn't stand out in a bad way. It stands out in a good way. It also doesn't take away from any of the legibility of it. It just works perfectly. The navy blue numbers work perfectly to keep the jersey from being way too bright. It really just it contrasts really well from the white. This is just a great jersey overall. There's barely any negatives to it. The only negatives I could give it are how it would work better as a primary jersey than an alternate. For an alternate, this is almost exactly what you want. It's something different from the primary brand, but it still links in. It's hard to give it not a 10 out of 10, but it's not a perfect jersey either. Screw it, 10 out of 10. Let's go.
Yeah,
2 10 out of 10s.
Gang, let's go.
The white gloves are the only thing that might hold me back, but I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
For a one-off one-year jersey, I can get behind it. And honestly, Vegas has looked good full-time too. I don't want to see it across the league, but if you're gonna do it. I mean, it's a 1 year. How much shit are you gonna cost? It's 1 year. It looks good. It's not gonna get old in 1 year. I love it.
I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Really, 10 out of 10.
Ship it. Love it.
So I'm with you guys. Everything, the detailing on the Buffalo, the release has been excellent. The white gloves, they work. It's fantastic. I mean, it really looks like a smooth uniform. It's not perfect. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's just not it's not yeah. I don't have to drop what I'm doing right now. I wish I could. I'm still waiting for that 10 out of 10 jersey in my lifetime. I'm reserving my 10 out of 10 for a once in a lifetime jersey. I'm going to go a little bit lower. I didn't know you guys were going to give it 10s. Now I look like I'm being a jerk. I thought I'm going to give it 9.25. I thought it was being nice and generous. That's my rating.
You know what's weird though? I gave this a 10 out of 10. I partly just talked myself into it again while giving the review, but while I do want it in my collection, but I'm not like, I need it now. I don't really understand that part of it, because I don't know when the last time, if ever, I've given a jersey 10 out of 10. And I do really want it, but I'm not like going to buy it this moment. I don't really understand that behind it. You know?
You're a college student now.
There's been jerseys.
That's probably
There's been jerseys.
Yeah.
There's been jerseys before where I felt the need, like I gotta have this. I think just as a Leafs fan, the reveal back in, I think it was 2011, where they put the stripes on the hem of the jersey. That one I just felt like I needed right away. Turned out to be not their best jersey ever, but at the time I felt like that was one I needed right away. And I haven't come across a jersey in a long time where I've really felt I've needed it right away. I'm sure it's coming. It's at some time. So
I guess
we'll see.
the only one that I felt that I've needed right away recently was the Penguins road jersey, the new one whenever they unveiled it in 2017, which at the time I couldn't drive, but I made my dad drive with me to Southside. I think it was the Southside Pens Gear store to buy it the first day it was released. But I felt this way about like Minnesota's home jersey whenever it was released. I was like, I gotta have that. Same with Carolina's home, I gotta have that. And I got those ones both now. And I still feel that way about the Oilers road jersey, Adidas road jersey. I gotta have it. I don't have it yet. But despite that, I don't think I'd give any of those a 10 out of 10. But this one I give a 10 out of 10, but I don't necessarily feel that way about it. At least not yet. I'm talking myself into it again.
I just want to buy it to pet that.
I want it, but I'm not like I gotta have
pet the
it.
buffalo. I want to feel that stitching, man. 100%. That's my son. That's my child. Give me that buffalo.
It will be interesting to see it in person and how it translates to Fanatics. That will be very interesting, whether or not that detailing gets lost.
2 out of 10.
But so we'll see what.
Can you repeat that? I was reading the chat in our podcasting thing here. I was wondering what's going on. I didn't notice there was a chat feature till a minute ago.
Well, we were mentioning just the Fanatics, like whether or not we'll lose the detail in the Buffalo.
Oh no!
Or yeah,
all you had to do was say Fanatics.
It's gonna be such a bastardization. I don't want to talk about it. Let's do.
All you had to do was say Fanatics, and I'm like, oh no, the possibilities are endless in how they can mess this up.
Fair enough. We'll see where it goes. We'll analyze that when it comes out. So with everyone's score,
it's going to be impressive if we can get a 10 out of 10 from the Adidas Authentics, and then like a 2 or a 0 out of 10 from the Fanatics version. That's going to be a feat of its own.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Maybe I'll buy one just for the sake of doing like a YouTube video review or something. We'll see. It's got to be pretty unique to do that. But this Buffalo jersey with the 2 10s, a 9.25, and a 7 essentially come out to an average score of 9. Final score for the Buffalo Sabres 50th anniversary jersey. That's very, very impressive, considering that most people just like to complain that Buffalo is not royal and yellow, and this is a navy and gold jersey. So that is very, very impressive that is the score we get for the Buffalo Sabres.
Knowing Fanatics, as always, they'll turn the shiny gold into Vegas gold.
Yep. I wouldn't doubt it for a second, and we'll have to see when that comes out, because that should be soon. But to see all the jerseys we talked about here on this episode, you can head on over to jerseynerdspodcast.com or just check out the link in the episode description. I'd like to thank Justin, Beepo, and Sean for joining me on this podcast, and we'll talk to you again
You're welcome,
on the next
Ryan.
podcast.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.